Yes, people, hope everyone is doing good. Apologies for the uploads. I'll talk about that further on in the video. I've been very busy with coaching stuff. Fingers crossed that all goes well. But yeah, hope everyone is good. Centre backs. Daniel Farkes made, even with the excellent result of Pascal only been out for a few weeks, he still stated that is not going to affect the way they look for a player. It's clear from what he said, he wants Ampadu in midfield. That is the role he sees him as. That is the position he wants him to play. Therefore, he wants more depth. He wants backup in the centre-back area, particularly on that left side, given the fact that we have injury problems there by all of them. Max Vober's hardly been available this season. Pascal Strout, we know, has injury record, and behind him, there isn't really an option. So, let's get into it. And of course, just really quick, I've not done the colour coding because I couldn't be bothered. Some of these here, these are some of the names. Some of them are really not realistic. You know, Collins, for example, at Frankfurt, top player, not coming to the Championship. Elvedi, I'd love Elvedi. Not coming to the Championship for me, personally, I don't think. Just some random loans that I don't really see there. I'd love some of these players, but I don't think we'll get them. You know, and you'll see through here some of the players. Obviously, Jordan Tonaraya, ignore the fours, that's just me. Again, a player that's been linked. I don't see it. I think he'll go top tier league. I don't think he's come to the Championship, unfortunately. But there's just some names. There's some more here, obviously, from the other leagues. My knowledge in centre-backs isn't as good as I'd say my attacking options. I am trying to improve it, but it's not as deep. Players, for example, like Mies Helgers, who I've watched a lot this season in the Eredivisie, is injured for long term. Otherwise, I promise you, he would have been right at the top of this. And would be a tough one, but he's been injured, and I believe it's a long-term injury. You know, there's a lot of problems in this thing, and some of them here, but there you go. Feel free to look. Let's get into the actual names that I'm going to go for. And the first one is Marton Dardai. Now, if I'm being honest, this one is the one. This one is the one I want. This one is the obvious one. This one is, for me, gettable. And I think he fits perfectly what we need. And I think he has potential to grow and be better. And has a decent ceiling. He's currently playing in Bundesliga 2 for Hertha Berlin, who are struggling for their standards in the league. He's a Hungary international. He's a left-footed, ball-playing centre-half who has a very strong tackle and good game awareness and good game IQ. I think he's perfect for us. I'll go into some of his statistics I've just mentioned. 22 years old, almost 23, still young. Not the tallest. That is one thing that you could maybe look at in the Championship. But again, that doesn't necessarily matter if watching the game you see that doesn't affect the player, and it doesn't, if I'm being honest. His aerial duels, I've not got the stats today, but I watch this guy, so I don't need to. You know, I've seen it. He's fine. He does his job. What he's very good at is reading the play, so if he knows he's not going to win it, playing for that second ball, being physical in the duels, regardless of what happens. He has a decent jump reach for someone that is, I say not tall, he's around 6 foot, but we're talking 6'3", 4 here, right? So yeah, left-footed as well, left-sided centre-back, which I understand the whole, it doesn't matter, but I think, coming from a recruitment perspective, I think Farkle wants, if we are going for that left-sided, I think he wants a left-footed there. I think that's what he wants. And that's what I've looked for in these videos. But there is more right-footed players that we'll speak about. But this is the first one. I just think he'd be a perfect player. I don't think he'd cost too much at all. I don't know how much. I don't really care. That's not me. But I don't think he'd be a lot. As, again, a gem playing in the Bundesliga 2 for me. There you can say he's made 11 appearances for Hungary, having come through the German youth ranks. You see from a team map, left-sided defender, can get forward as well. It's kind of, in terms of playing style, it is quite a bit of a hybrid between, not hybrid as in as good at both of them in these matters, but he's a hybrid between Rodon and Strout in the sense that I believe he's playing out from the back end, and he's kind of risk of pass, his progressive passes are decent. He does look for them. He always looks to play forward, but he's also a guy who, as Farke would love, can slow it down and play sideways. You know, if the pass is on to play into midfield or into the 10 or into the wide player, he will do it. He will happily clip a ball down the line. I just think he's a really good ball-playing centre-back who's comfortable higher up the pitch. in terms of driving with it as well if he needs to. And he's a decent tackler for me. He's an aggressive tackler. He's not someone that's going to shy off a tackle. Sometimes he won't make it. Sometimes he'll get cards, fouls. But he's just a good player. He's a smart player. He's a good in possession, ball-oriented defender that would work for us in many ways, in my opinion. And there we go. I'll just talk about his key strengths. I've just spoke about them, so there's no point really doing them. But yeah, jump reach, progressive pass detail, comfort on the ball, aggression, reading the game, jump reach. Number 2, but before we get into it, I just want to say, like, for me, he's the one. He's the one I get. He's the one I'd have. I think it's right there. I think there's interest from Bundesliga clubs. Obviously, he's at a big club in Hertha, who a very passionate fan base. So there's not that dire need to leave. But for me, I think it's one that you have to do. You might have to pay a little more because it's a key player for them. But I just think it's a no-brainer. I think he's got potential for this team to develop in the Premier League as well. And competition, direct competition. The question of would he come to Leeds United now if he's not guaranteed game time? Yeah. Again, looking at the fact that he's already in a second division team. It's not like he's playing in the Bundesliga. He's in the second division. He would want to come to the Championship knowing that he is a good run or an injury away from being the starting centre-back, which could be in the Premier League. You know? I think that's right there for him. So for me, I think that's a no-brainer. Number 2. Albian Hajdari. Now, this one's a little different to the other one. For me, I've not seen as much as him, but from what I have, I really like him. He's a younger guy. He's more raw. But I think his ceiling is massive. There's a lot of good young, players from Switzerland. Really good. Alvin Sanchez is a guy we spoke about. Saul, another guy we'll talk about in this video. So many good young players there. And I think it's a market that Leeds should be looking at, and they probably are, to be fair. But there's just so many good talent coming through Switzerland right now. And he is one of them. Plays for FC Loango in Switzerland. He's 21 years old, so he's very young. 1.89 meters, so he's around that. He's never too. From looking at him, he's around 6'1", 6'2", 6 foot. He's around that. Left-sided again, the key part. And let me be real, guys. Trying to find left-sided defenders who are left-footed on that side, who are gettable in terms of realism, was tough. There wasn't many that I thought were either good enough or realistic. There genuinely wasn't. It was a tough market. So that means if you can get them, it helps a lot because it's a different dynamic in build-up. A different dynamic in build-up, especially when they're really good on the ball as well. It's a completely different dynamic. The way you receive, the way a team presses, when you're a left-footed centre-back on that side, as opposed to right-footed, it's a different press. Because if you're pressing them outwards, you can press them onto their weaker side, which is their left. Whereas if they're on their left side, it's, you're pressing them onto their strong side. So unless you press them inside, which again, you just rotate the ball. But anyway, nerd talk. Yeah, there he is. Especially Wollongo. As I said, again, look at the heat map. See where he's played this season. And he likes to cover centrally a little more clearly. Yeah, played for SC Basel as a youth product. Came through, has gone to Luongo. I believe he extended the contract there actually a few months ago. But is that to put a release clause in there? Potentially, is that to just make his value higher, to prolong his value? Probably. I don't think he's a player that's going to be there after the summer, if I'm being honest. I think he moves on next summer. Would he take a step down to the Championship? Maybe not. But again, there's that lure of the Premier League, which is so close. And this is the whole point of this. The first time I watched this, and a lot of these young Swiss players was actually in the youth leagues. I can't remember which one it was. But it's there, the under-18s elite. When they played against England, they played against a few teams. And they're a very good team. There's so many good players in there. So it's definitely a market that we need to look at. And in terms of him, he's not huge, but again, he's young. He can still grow. He is looking like, and he's growing into, if you look at comparing to like start of last year and what he looks like now, he's a lot more of a physical profile. And there's still development to go there, of course. He's still 21. But for me, a player who is very composed, very good at the basics. He does have a raw edge to him still, which is, again, going to have at that age. that kind of fits well with what we need for me. I think our problem right now is in that role, kind of look all over the pitch. We kind of have that younger player that can come in and has a higher ceiling. You look at the wingers, you've got Dan James and Solomon Stein right now. We're both, I think, 25, 26. And beneath then you've got Ramazani and Nonto, who are a little younger. I think we need that. Same with the strike. You've got Pirro's established, and you've got Mateo Jose, who's that younger guy who's learning under him. And then you've obviously got Charlie Cruz out on loan. Again, a younger prospect there. So for me, I think this is where in centre back we don't have that, and I think we need that. But a one with quality who can come in and be very good there, and I think he suits that. Like I said, I've not seen him as much as Dardai, but he's a player from what I have seen I like. But I will say is I've only seen him in the youth competitions. I've not actually seen him in an open game other than some highlights. But again, you're not going on them. I'm going on what I've seen in the actual 90-minute matches. He's a very good player, very composed, decent defender, decent fundamentals defender. And I mean that as in positional awareness, tackling, basic aerial duels. It's very solid fundamentals. Again, like I said, the first guy was the guy I want. Here's the one. And some honourable mentions real quick. Now, there's a lot in there. Like I said, Bonaraya, Elvedi, for example, players like that, I just don't think are realistic. I really don't. If we did get them, I'd be very happy. Now, I've gone for some right-sided players, just in case the manager isn't necessarily too picky in that sense, and he just wants a backup who can come in and do a job either side consistently. So that's why I've got these guys here. Now, I've just realised Terry Yegbe is actually left-sided. He's left-footed. I put him in here for a different reason. I'll tell you why. Now, there's some really good players here. Watched a lot of Jamil Siebert this season. He's had bad injuries in the last few years that he's actually been unlucky with. But he's been back this season, and when he got back, he's looked really good. He's looked solid. He's a very good right-sided defender. Relatively young as well. I believe he's 21, 22. One that, again, watching the youth leagues. Just a composed defender, very good leader, very solid fundamentals as well. A confident defender. You need a confident young man, And I think that's what we need. I think that's what we're lacking as competition in there. Just a confident young man who believes that he can usurp the two, who's really there putting the pressure on a train. I think we need that. And all these guys in this list are kind of that person. Barisic at FC Basel is one I like a lot. He is, again with Siebert, they're about 6'4", 6'5", 23 years old, I believe. Just looking at his data this year, I believe I watched him in, I can't remember what competition it was. Honestly, I can't. I think it was a European one. I can't remember what competition. But he's just so dominant in every way. I'd absolutely love him to play for Leeds United. He's so big. He's dominant in the air. Decent on the ball as well. And I think that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a player who you can kind of mould into your side and be a solid player for you. Obviously, they have to be decent on the ball. I don't think it's vital that they are unbelievable in terms of passing range. I don't think that's key, because predominantly our centre-back's passing range is to the next man in front. It's not necessarily risky or progressive passes, really. Line-breaking passes. They do have that in the locker every now and again, but Joe Rodon, for example, like his passability is relatively basic. It's solid, but it's basic. But what he has is that little drive out. There's always a little edge of progression. I wouldn't even say Pascal's. I think his passes are very good, but I wouldn't say he's the most progressive passer. I wouldn't say he's the most deadly passer. But the key for me is, if the pass is on, can they find the man? That's the key part. The movement of the players is more important for me, because there has to be an option. And if there's an option, just give it him. And I think all these guys there. Watanabe is one. Watanabe. God, that's hard to say. Watanabe, yeah, is one for Genk, who I believe I did in the video last year. One that I think would be difficult to get just because it's a quality defender. So many, Japanese internationals that are just good players. And he's one of them. I'd love him, right-sided. And Karim Sow, again, another one who plays for Lausanne Sport in Switzerland, who is another young Swiss defender who has a bright future, in my opinion. Very, very raw. I will say that. There's a lot to go there for him, but you're just looking at the base of it and what he can develop into. And for me, it's exciting. He's got the shell of a defender there that can be top class, in my opinion. And Terry Yegbe is a left-sided player. He's honestly, he's about 6'5" and must weigh double anyone on this list. He is massive. But he's had an interesting season. I've not seen too much of him, but I'm not going to put him in there. It's an interesting season. He's not been very consistent for me in terms of the feedback I've seen. So I've not put him in the list. But he's one to watch, I think. One that can improve again. But yeah, as I said, these are the names. There's only really one major guy I want. And it's the guy I mentioned at the start. He's a guy I just think could be perfect for Leeds right now. There is obviously the Premier League loans, and I put some names in there, but I'm not going to go into them. They're boring. You want some interesting names. There is some in the first list, all in that list. Bar the ones that are probably not going to come, you could look at and go, could be an option. There's some Bundesliga 2 defenders that have high ceilings, Bundesliga defenders that are not playing so much. Defenders in the likes of the Eredivisie in Belgium. There's some in Portugal as well that I've not put on here, but they're on the original list that you can see at the start. There's a lot of players for me. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you think Farke wants one? I think Dardai is gettable. I do. I think he is, potentially. Hey, let's see. See you guys in a bit. I appreciate all support. There's not been many uploads because I'm doing I believe I said this at the start, I can't remember. I'm doing my coaching badges, so I've got a lot of work to do, and I'm practicing and doing some sessions and planning some sessions out and learning. So I've been very busy in YouTube. Honestly, when it comes to football job and work, YouTube I don't care. That's gone. You know what I mean? So I've not been concentrating on it at all, but thank you for the love. Yeah, and I'll probably speak to you after the Burnley game. I'll see you guys in a bit. Bye-bye.